So this will be our last video for this journal here. And in this scenario, I have to find a specific trig value. So I don't have to find all 6, which is nice. But I am given a constraint and a specific quadrant to be in, which is nicer than the last problem where I have to figure out which quadrant I have to be in. So this one specifically tells me I'm in quadrant 2. So right at the get-go, I am definitely drawing myself a picture. And I'm going to draw in quadrant 4. And quadrant 4, the coordinates there, the x's are positive, but the y's are negative. So that's always like the first thing I'm trying to understand is what are going to be my x and y values? Which one are going to be negatives? And which one are going to be positive? So in this case, I know my x values here are positive and my y values are negative. The next thing I want to do is take this sign and see if I get any actual values for my coordinate system. Now, what I understand is that sine is y over r, or y over the radius. And in this case, because I'm down here in the 4th quadrant, my y values are negative. So that tells me that this 3 is actually that negative 3 is on top. And then the radius here, the 5, needs to be a positive 5 because radiuses are always positive. And so if I were to draw a triangle, remember, we always draw a triangle towards the x-axis. So I want you reaching for that x-axis. And so I know that the radius here is 5. So I'm talking about this piece here is 5. And then this side here is going to be my opposite side. So if this is my angle, my reference angle, then this side's my opposite. So my y value here is negative 3. I don't know what my x value here or the adjacent side here is, so I will have to figure that out by using the Pythagorean. So if I use Pythagorean, x squared plus y squared equals r squared, then my x here is, well, I don't know what x is, so I'll just bring that down. And my y is negative 3. My r here is 5. And so if I solve this out, I would subtract the 9 over. This ends up being 16, so the square root of 16 is 4. And so my x value here is 4, and it needs to be a positive 4 because this is in the 4th quadrant. So this is a positive 4. All right, now I am now ready to figure out whatever they want me to figure out, which is cosine. So cosine is x over the radius. Now, I knew what the radius was. It was 5. Now I know what x is, which is 4. So cosine of this angle is 4 over 5. And I think that's it. That's all they wanted us to find was figuring out cosine. And now I'm going to go ahead and figure out what b is going to be. So in b, they tell us it's in the 3rd quadrant. So let's go ahead and draw a picture of the 3rd quadrant. So in the 3rd quadrant, that's where x's and y's are both negatives. And so when I'm looking at this piece here that they give us, they give us secant. And if you know what secant is r, the radius, over x, because it's the reciprocal of cosine. And in this case, the x here needs to be a negative because it's in the 3rd quadrant. Now the radius is always going to be positive. So this 9 is actually a positive 9, whereas the denominator needs to be a negative 4 for the x to be a negative. And so if I were to draw this angle, remember, you're going to draw the angle out, but make sure you draw the triangle towards the x-axis. And so from here, I can see that my radius here is 9. My x value here is negative 4. I don't know what y is, but I can find that out. In this case, using the Pythagorean theorem, so x squared plus y squared equals r squared. My x squared is negative 4. And my y, don't know what that is, but my radius is 9. So negative 4 squared is 16 plus y. 9 squared gives me 81. And then from there, if I subtract 16 over to 81, that makes it 65. Take the square root of 65. Let's see if we can break down 65. So 65 is definitely divisible by 5. If you do 5 times 13, you get 65. Unfortunately, 5 and 13 are both prime numbers and they can't be broken down. So I didn't get any, pairs from this. In that case, I have to keep it under a root. So I'm just going to keep my answer as y root 65. However, I just realized, this quadrant here is the third quadrant. And so this y value is a negative number. So this is a negative root 65. So that needs to be considered that, remember, our x and y values are going to both be negative because we're in the third quadrant. So be very mindful of that when you are writing out your lengths. But to get to tangent, we need our y value and our x value. So our y is negative root 65 and our x value is negative 4. So I just grabbed these two values, plugged them in. And since they're two negatives, they become a positive number. So it's just root 65 over 4, and I can't reduce that any further. So this here is my final answer. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Bye.